Rich Dad, Poor Dad is one of the most famous personal finance books ever written. For millions of people, it was the first book that challenged what they were taught about money, jobs, and security. It questioned the idea that working harder and saving alone would lead to freedom. And for that, the book deserves credit. But like many powerful ideas, it is often misunderstood. And that misunderstanding has quietly led many people into financial stress instead of freedom. This video is not about attacking the book. It is about clarifying one lesson that people take too literally. A lesson that sounds right, but when applied without thinking, becomes dangerous. If you ask readers what they remember most from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the answer is almost always the same. Assets make you rich, liabilities make you poor. This idea is simple, memorable, and easy to repeat. So people turn it into a rule. If something is an asset, it must be good. If it produces income, it must move me forward. That rule feels empowering. It makes people feel smarter than the average worker. But rules without context can become traps. Once people accept this belief, they feel pressure to act quickly. They feel behind. So they rush to buy assets. They invest in rental properties because real estate is called an asset. They start businesses because business income is called passive. They buy investments they barely understand because they are afraid of missing out. And they reassure themselves with one thought: at least this is better than a job. But they skip something important. They skip understanding how that asset actually works. The biggest lie people learn is not that assets are good. It is believing that all assets make you richer. In reality, bad assets can trap you worse than a job ever could. A job may limit your upside, but a bad asset can destroy your stability. An asset that drains your money is not freedom. It is responsibility without protection, and responsibility without protection creates stress. Imagine someone who buys a rental property. On paper, it looks smart. They own an asset. They collect rent. They feel like an investor. But the reality looks different. Repairs come up. Tenants leave. Interest rates rise. Vacancies happen. The rent barely covers expenses. Sometimes it does not. So the owner pays out of pocket. Every month, this person did not escape the rat race. They upgraded it. A job has limits, but it has clarity. You know what is expected. You know when you get paid. A bad asset offers no certainty. It follows you home. It wakes you up at night. It demands money when you least have it. Instead of buying time, it steals it. Instead of reducing stress, it multiplies it. And the worst part? You feel guilty for complaining because you were supposed to be smart. The real lesson of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is not about assets or liabilities. It is about cash flow, positive cash flow, reliable cash flow that exists after all costs are paid. A real asset pays you consistently. It does not depend on appreciation alone. It does not survive on hope. It does not require constant rescue. When cash flow is weak, the asset is weak. No matter how impressive it sounds, people ignore cash flow because it is boring. Labels are exciting. Numbers are uncomfortable. It feels better to say, "I own assets," than to say, "This barely works." But financial freedom does not come from sounding smart. It comes from understanding reality. Ignoring reality is how people stay stuck. Once someone owns a bad asset, they often double down. They invest more money. They spend more time. They justify bad decisions because admitting a mistake feels worse than losing money. This is how bad assets turn into long-term traps. Not because people are lazy, but because they are emotionally attached. The correct question is not, Is this an asset? The correct question is, does this improve my life? Does it create positive cash flow today? Does it reduce financial pressure? Does it give me more options? If the answer is no, the label does not matter. An asset that costs you peace is too expensive. Jobs are not the enemy. They are tools. A job can fund education. A job can fund investments. A job can provide stability while you learn. The enemy is blind thinking. Replacing a job with a bad asset is not progress. It is risk without reward. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was not wrong, but it was simplified for impact. Assets do not automatically make you rich. Profitable, well-understood assets do. Assets that you control. Assets that survive bad years. Assets that pay you without draining you. Everything else is noise. If you take one lesson from this video, let it be this. Do not chase the label. Chase the outcome. Freedom comes from assets that work, not from assets that look impressive. And if you do not understand the difference, you do not escape the rat race. You just build a smarter-looking cage.